Attorney Thomas Burton, and we're live here with my 5th video, I believe it is, on the SBA loan program. And today I'm going to cover some frequently asked questions about the Paycheck Protection Program. So this was just released yesterday on Treasury website here. They've got, it's about a 6-page document, let me see, with FAQs about the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. And there's a few good nuggets of information in here, so if you're a small business who hasn't applied or is wondering how to calculate your loan, or maybe you have applied but you have questions about it, I'm going to run through a few of the questions I saw in here that could be helpful to you. So I'm going to start first with one of the last questions, because I think this is important for people looking to apply. It says, are PPP loans, and that's the Paycheck Protection Program, are PPP loans for existing customers considered new accounts for FinCEN Rule CDD purposes? Are lenders required to collect, certify, or verify beneficial ownership information in accordance with the rule requirements for existing customers? So last week I was talking with some clients, and my advice was, if you have a place you're already doing your business banking, I would try applying there, seeing if they're processing these loans, because they already know you, and the bank's under the know your customer rules. They have to verify a lot of your personally identifiable information and ask you questions about the business and what you're doing with the funds. So this is what they're talking about here, and the answer is, if the PPP loan is being made to an existing customer and the necessary information was previously verified, you do not need to re-verify the information. So that's a short answer, but they're basically telling these community lenders, if you already know the customer, and let's say they open their business checking account and you did all that verification, you don't need to do it again just for this program. So that's why my general advice is, if you have a business bank you're working with where your business accounts are, I would check with them first, see if they're processing the PPP loan applications before you run to some other bank. And if you recall Friday, when these loans were opening, some of the bigger banks were saying they were going to process them, like Bank of America was one of them, and they were. But then later, as you got into the application, I was reading reports that Bank of America was saying, if you don't have certain accounts with us, we're not going to process this for you. And some were even saying you needed to have a credit card account, not just a personal or business bank account. So anyway, takeaway, check with your lender first at your local bank and see if they're processing these loans, because I think they'll have to do less verification of your identity, and that's what the SBA is saying here. Now, these frequently asked questions just came out yesterday, updated on April 6th, and there's another question here. What if I filed or approved a loan application based on the version of the PPP interim final rule published on April 2nd, 2020? Do I need to take any action based on the updated guidance in these frequently asked questions? And the answer from the SBA is no. Borrowers and lenders may rely on the laws, rules, and guidance available at the time of the relevant application. So if you already applied last week and they keep updating these rules, you should be okay. However, borrowers whose previously submitted loan applications have not yet been processed may revise their applications based on clarifications in these frequently asked questions. So if you take a look at these frequently asked questions and you see something that affects your loan application, you can update your application with your lender and check with your lender to see if they've already processed it or not. So another thing, I'm going to switch back to page 1 of these frequently asked questions, is they talk a lot about how do you calculate your payroll costs for determining the size of the loan. So that's what a lot of people have been asking me about, and it's kind of a confusing answer because it depends if you were in business for all of last year, were you a seasonal business, or are you just a new business opened this year in 2020? But basically, here's a question that should give you some guidance. They say, paragraph 3B sub I of the Paycheck Protection Program final rule states that lenders must, quote, confirm the dollar amount of average monthly payroll costs for the preceding calendar year by reviewing the payroll documentation submitted with the borrower's application. Does that require that the lender replicate every borrower's calculation? The answer from the SBA is no. Providing an accurate calculation of payroll costs is the responsibility of the borrower, and the borrower must attest to the accuracy of these calculations. Lenders are expected to perform a good faith review in reasonable time of the borrower's calculations and supporting documents concerning average monthly payroll. Okay, so the borrower, and I'm talking, assuming to small businesses here, that's you, the borrower. The lender is supposed to perform a good faith review of your calculations. So, you know, it can be confusing, but you're supposed to do your best to do that 2.5 month calculation and provide those numbers to the lender. And they're saying here, minimal review of calculations based on a payroll report by a recognized third-party payroll processor, for example, would be reasonable. So if you have payroll records, they're telling the lenders, review those by a third party. That's basically good enough. That's the way I'm reading this. But you know, if you're having to do the calculations on your own, like Excel spreadsheet, you just need to provide them good data to look at, the lender, so the loan officer can look at it and say these calculations look accurate according to what the borrower provided me, okay? So when you're working with your lender, try to provide them with good records where they can do that good faith review in a reasonable time. So for example, you know, numbers written down on a napkin are going to be difficult, but if you have business records from last year in Excel and you can put them into a 12-month schedule and then calculate an average, provide that to the lender. So that's my advice if you don't have the payroll processor, which a lot of small businesses with a few or no employees don't. Now, it gets into some of the rules about who qualifies, but here's one more for today I want to point out, and this is a change from the initial application that they were putting on the web maybe last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, but the final one came out Friday, so make sure you go to treasury.gov or sba.gov to get the final one. But the question is, may lenders accept signatures from a single individual who is authorized to sign on behalf of the borrower? And the answer now is yes. However, the borrower should bear in mind that as the borrower application form indicates, only an authorized representative of the business seeking a loan may sign on behalf of the business. An individual's signature as an authorized representative of applicant is a representation to the lender and to the U.S. government that the signer is authorized to make certifications. So, including with respect to the applicant and each owner of 20% or more of the applicant's equity contained in the borrower application form. Lenders may rely on the representation and accept a single individual signature on that basis. So if you recall, the first version of the form was having every individual who held a 20% or more interest in a business sign. The new revised form on Friday has one applicant sign it. But if you're a member of an LLC or something like that and you have a few members with that 20% interest or more, you need to make sure that you have the authority of the other members under your corporate document to act as the authorized representative for that application. Okay, so what they're saying is if you're they're going to allow one person to sign on behalf of the business, but they need to have that actual authority to sign. So there's a few good FAQs in here. It's quite a long document, but I wanted to point out the highlights I saw in here, and maybe we'll revisit these in another video later this week. but I'll put the link to this document in this video, and I wanted to get it out quickly today. So stay safe, be well, and we'll see you next time.